The most skilled sculptors in the world craft their masterpieces out of ice, only to have them melt away after a few days. But the end result, while it lasts, shows an incredible amount of work, effort, and skill. Here are the top 15 most amazing ice sculptures. Number 15. The Tall Tower. While Yichun City may not be one of the most notable places in China, it made a name for itself when its government created the world's tallest ice sculpture. That's because this sculpture, which was officially completed on January 19th of 2010, measured in at an enormous 16.2 meters tall, therefore beating the previous record by about 1.5 meters. Interestingly enough, it used 850 cubic meters of ice to make what was supposed to be a dinosaur. And although this may seem like a bit of a stretch, you can kind of see the resemblance. Unsurprisingly, the manpower used to make it was also impressive, as it took 120 people 20 days to complete the structure. As such, due to it taking so much effort to build, we'll doubt we'll see many ice sculptures try to beat this record anytime soon. Number 14. The MIT Ice Wall. MIT is easily one of America's most well-known universities, and as such has produced some of the best and brightest minds out there. And while ice sculpting may not be on the minds of most of the students on campus, architecture student Yoshiro Okamoto put an ingenious idea to work in order to celebrate MIT's 150-year anniversary back in 2011. This idea was essentially a massive ice wall that was illuminated with LED lights, with the real kicker being the flower seeds that were placed inside the wall. This is because as the ice eventually melted, the flower seeds were released by the blocks, thus allowing them to fall to the ground and bloom in the spring. It was this physical growth that Okamoto used to symbolize MIT's technological growth over the years. Number 13. The Hotel of Ice. While Romania may not be well known for being snowy, it does in fact get quite cold there in the winter, and as a result the country has its very own ice hotel. Located high up in the Carpathian Mountains and accessible only by cable car, it's built out of ice that comes from a water body known as Belia Lake. Now, it has a number of notable features such as 12 rooms, an ice lounge, a bar, and a restaurant, with each guest room being decked with furs, blankets, and sleeping bags in order to make sure your stay is as comfortable as possible. To top this off, the hotel even has a fully functioning church, with tourists having the option to get married or get baptized there. And best of all, at just $89 a night, it certainly is on the cheaper side. Number 12. The Flamenco Ice Tower. It really goes without saying that ice towers are hard to build, but the Flamenco really brought this to a whole new level. That's because this structure ended up being 31 meters high, and despite not being given the record, it's still a massive ice tower. Now, the design was made by a joint Dutch and Chinese team so that it resembled a traditional Chinese tower and flamenco dress, with the entire thing being built with fiber-reinforced ice so that it could last longer and be less prone to melting. This resulted in it being extremely beautiful once built, with the views of both the interior and exterior of the building being absolutely stunning. And while the tower may have been built in sub-zero temperatures near the Arctic Circle, it's hoped that the techniques used can be implemented farther south so that they can be used to build ice structures for the Beijing Winter Olympic Games in 2022. Number 11. Star Wars Sculptures. If you're a fan of the famous Star Wars movie series, then you should have made your way down to Liège in Belgium for the 2015 Star Wars Ice Sculpture Festival. In essence, this festival featured 61 different Star Wars-themed ice sculptures, with most being at least life-size, and with all of them depicting different characters and places from the movies. In particular, some of the most impressive were sculptures of R2-D2, Han Solo, and Chewbacca, with larger-than-life rendition of a stormtrooper truly taking the show. As such, the display truly was incredible for all those that went out to see it. Number 10. The Ice Lantern Display. While ice lanterns may be pretty small and unimpressive on their own, when made en masse, they are truly spectacular. And while a few record attempts have been made, perhaps the most impressive is the current record-holding attempt from the town of State College, Pennsylvania. That's because on February 14th of 2017, the town rallied together to create a display that was 5,622 ice lanterns strong, with these being organized as a joint effort by the Center Foundation and the Make Space organization. Interestingly, the project almost ended up being a little bit of a flop. That's because despite asking residents to make one lantern each and buying 3,600 tea lights in anticipation, the townspeople actually ended up bringing nearly double the 3,000 ice lanterns that organizers expected them to. This means that they had to send volunteers running around town in search of tea lights, which after lots of effort were finally collected. As a result, despite the 45-minute delay, enough tea lights were eventually found, and everyone's ice lantern got to be included in the project. As such, we think you'd agree that this project's goal of bringing together the community and giving them something to be proud of was certainly met. Number 9. The St. Paul Ice Palace. While St. Paul, Minnesota may be best known for being the home of the Minnesota Vikings, its ice palaces have made a name for themselves as well. That's because every year since 1886, St. Paul has had a winter festival where the town gets together to create a giant ice palace, with it often being large enough to rival even the most stately castles out there. However, in January of 1992, St. Paul really stepped it up to the next level when they created the world's tallest ice building. Now, in terms of materials, the company TMK Construction Specialties Incorporated essentially gathered 18,000 blocks of pale green ice from the town of Spicer, with these bricks being bonded together with the help of blowtorches and salt, amounting to about $1.1 million in material to create what the Washington Post described as a series of, quote, battlements, spires, turrets, crenellations, and canopies. Once all was said and done, the palace measured in an astounding 50.8 meters, making it by far the tallest ever created. And while St. Paul continues to make ice palaces every year, none have ever matched this true monstrosity. We are constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. The Dillon Ice Castles. While the U.S. state of Colorado may be best known for its outdoor experiences and affinity to marijuana, it turns out that it's also the home state of the famous Dillon Ice Castles. Built by a company that's aptly named Ice Castles, the Colorado rendition is essentially one of 6 renditions made across the United States and Canada, with the other locations being in Utah, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Alberta. Now, these ice castles are essentially massive compounds filled with LED-lit icicles, frozen thrones, ice-carved tunnels, and slides, and typically use over 12,000 icicles and over 20 million pounds of snow and ice in their creation. According to Brian Christensen, who first started the company in 2011, quote, "The ice slides are the most popular feature in ice castles, with slides available for all ages, from toddlers to adults." Yet as a result of these added features, these castles typically cost a lot to create, and thus guests usually pay between $16 and $25 per ticket in order to enter. Yet if you do get to experience these castles, you'll be able to get some incredible photo ops that truly are unmatched. Number 7. The Okamoto Ice Chess Set. Chess is easily one of the world's most popular board games, and as a result, boards are often made out of a variety of materials. Yet out of all the chess sets out there, few are as impressive as the Okamoto Ice Chess Set. Created by New York's Okamoto Studio in December of 2011, it consisted of 2 sets of 14 different chess pieces, with them being set up in such a way as to commemorate the famous matches between Russian Grandmaster Garry Kasparov and IBM's chess computer Deep Blue in 1996 and 1997. Now, what was reportedly the most challenging part about creating the sculpture was making the opposing sides different colors, and this was ultimately achieved by working with the water's natural properties to create 2 distinct looks. In particular, half of the pieces were a cloudy white, which was the result of a phenomenon that occurs naturally as water freezes. However, in order to make the other sets stand out, a special mixture was concocted so that it appeared to be perfectly clear. As such, when completed, the Okamoto Ice Chess Set truly was beautiful. However, due to the relatively warm 9 degrees Celsius temperature, the chess set didn't last for all that long. Number 6. The Tumbling Tower. Generally speaking, the ice sculptures on this list all have to melt at some point, as Mother Nature simply doesn't allow them to last forever. However, this tumbling tower was destroyed before its time when it came crashing down while the builder was in the middle of an interview. For reference, the ice tower in question was built by Roger Hansen, who created it with the help of a $30,000 grant from the city of Superior, Wisconsin. Interestingly enough, it was his 5th year of making the castle, with this one coming in at a staggering height of 20 meters. This should have made it the world's tallest, however, due to a cable holding it up, it never was given the title. Yet even if it had been released from the cable, it more than likely than not that it would have come crashing down. That's because thanks to fluctuating temperatures, the tower began to become unstable, despite it only being early February. As a result, by complete coincidence, the tower came down while Hansen was being interviewed by the New York Times, which certainly must have been shocking to both him and the reporter. However, despite this setback, he was given the green light by the city to begin a rebuild soon after. Number 5. The Ice Hotel. If you're looking for a place to stay that's on the chilly side, then look no further than the Ice Hotel. That's because this structure, which is located in the village of Jukkasjärvi in northern Sweden, holds the distinction of being the world's first ice and largest hotel. Now, this hotel has been open ever since 1990 and is rebuilt every year so that it can house visitors between the months of December and April. And while the hotel doesn't look exactly the same every year, in the 2014-2015 season, it actually received a Guinness World Record for being the world's largest ice structure. That's because it was in this year that it used 1,000 tons of ice and 30,000 cubic meters of snice, which is a snow-ice mix, in order to make a structure that spanned a total of 5,500 meters. This structure had practically everything you could ever want in a hotel, as it not only featured about 100 guest rooms, but an ice reception, an ice main hall, an ice bar, and even a fully functioning ice church. As a result, a stay in the Ice Hotel truly is a unique experience. That's because after paying the approximately $170 per night fee, visitors are sent to their own unique room, which is kept at a constant temperature of -5 degrees Celsius. This means that walking around in your birthday suit isn't exactly an option here. So instead, each visitor is given a reindeer skin and a polar-grade sleeping bag in order to have a good night's sleep. However, if you're not in the room, you can opt to do anything from baptizing your baby to warming up in a non-ice sauna or a hot tub, ensuring that you will always have something to do while on the premises. As such, a visit to the Ice Hotel truly is unforgettable. Number 4. The Tonghua Ice Bar. While many of you may swing by the local bar to grab a drink from time to time, the city of Tonghua took things to a whole new extreme by making the world's largest ice bar. Located in northeastern China, Tonghua is an industrial city located near the North Korean border, and as such, it's known for its very cold and harsh winters. However, the citizens of Tonghua decided to make the most of it when on January 20th of 2018, they completed the world's longest ice bar. Now, it measured in at an impressive 100.6 meters long, 0.9 meters high, and 1.2 meters wide, and used about 1,500 ice blocks in its construction in order to cover a total area of more than 2,200 square meters. As a result, it took 55 workers about 15 days to construct the ice bar, which interestingly enough used environmentally friendly materials in its construction. Now, the project itself was sponsored by the Tonghua Wine Industry Development and Promotion Center, which used the bar to serve wine to the thousands that came to see it. And while the ice bar didn't last forever, Yao Yuan, who was the deputy director of Tonghua's Tourism Development Committee, said that the city hoped the 2 world records would boost tourism. As he said at the time that, quote, "We want to attract the attention of international tourists." On our end, we hope that these efforts succeed. Number 3. Largest Igloo. Put simply, Canada is the poster child of everything cold. After all, be it polar bears, snowstorms, snowmobiles, or igloos, chances are you've seen some joke about Canada being in love with them. And while this is far from accurate, the fact that the largest igloo ever created was built in Canada fits the stereotype all too well. Built in the east coast town of Grand Falls in the province of New Brunswick, the igloo was created by designer Eric Ouellette and his 40-person team with the help of Zigzag. Now, for those of you who don't already know, igloos were first made by Canada's Inuit people and are essentially a large dome structure that makes use of both ice and snow to make a very warm home. While most igloos take a relatively short amount of time to make, the planning for this record-breaking igloo began a whole 2 months in advance, as both Ouellette and his team had to cut 2,500 ice blocks to use for the structure. However, once this was all gathered, the team took 2 weeks to construct it, eventually making an igloo that measured in at an internal diameter of 9.2 meters and an internal height of 5.3 meters, an exceptional width of 5.6 meters, and an external height of 9.8 meters upon its completion on February 10th of 2011. In tandem, these measurements made it the largest igloo ever created, and thus locals and tourists alike began to flock to the small town in order to see it within the 2-month time frame between it being built and it melting to the ground. And while the igloo record is often challenged by other countries, conservative MP Mike Allen put it best by saying that, quote, "For Canada, it is important to have the igloo record." On our end, we say we certainly agree with him, and we hope that Grand Falls continues to hold the record for years to come. Number 2. The Harbin Ice and Snow Sculpture Festival. While Harbin, China may be a northern backwater by most accounts, it certainly does put on a show every single winter. That's because due to its extremely low average temperatures of about -15 degrees in the daytime and -25 degrees at night, it's able to facilitate the Harbin Ice and Snow Sculpture Festival, which was one of the largest of its kind in the world. lasting from the beginning of January until late February. It's essentially a festival that shows off some of the largest ice sculptures in the world and has gotten so big that the 2018 rendition of the festival brought in a total of 18 million visitors and about $4.4 billion in revenue. Now, what does this festival have on display, you may ask? Well, it's actually split up into two distinct areas that have two different sets of displays available. However, in both you can walk through various ice sculptures that are nothing short of incredible. And while the sculptures and structures vary from year to year, some of the most incredible have been LED-illuminated castles, full-on skyscrapers, a massive 300-meter ice slide, a large temple, and monuments built with the inspiration of both Chinese and Russian designs. Yet best of all, if you tire of walking through endless kilometers of ice sculptures and displays, the festival even has a number of other activities. In particular, visits can opt to go on swims through icy pools, go on sled rides down massive ice paths, and watch fireworks illuminate the already multicolored park. As a result, we think it's fair to say that it's worth visiting this festival sooner rather than later. Number 1. The Tatra Ice Temple. Put simply, St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City is easily one of the world's most beautiful churches. After all, it's decked out in beautiful marble statues, painting, frescoes, and artifacts that make it a true treasure of mankind. As such, it shouldn't come as a surprise that many have tried to replicate its beauty. Yet a team of sculptors in Hrbinac, Slovenia, chose to take a very divergent approach in doing so in the winter of 2019. That's because they opted to make a scaled-down version of the famous basilica completely out of ice, bringing down its proportions so that it could fit in a much smaller area. Yet despite this scaling down, the basilica was still impressive. That's because in order to make the 11-meter-tall structure, it took a total of 1,880 ice blocks that weighed in at a total of 225 tons. With the work being so tedious that it took a team of 16 sculptors from Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Poland, Wales, and the United States a total of 12 hours a day for a month to create the temple. However, if you were to have stepped inside, it would quickly become apparent why. After all, not only were a number of statues and frescoes recreated, but a number of more local touches were added, as the statues of chamois, marmots, and other wildlife native to the High Tatras were sculpted alongside replicas of the works of Italian masters. It also had stained glass-like decorations on the walls, had a massive dome measuring 25 meters in diameter, and refrigeration units to ensure that the bone-chilling minus 10 degrees Celsius temperature was maintained at all times. To top this off, the ice basilica in fact acted like a normal church, as a mass led by a priest and accompanied by a choir would grace its chilly walls every Sunday. Thus, when you consider that this basilica is in fact rebuilt every year and is completely free to enter thanks to funding from the Tatra Tourism Organization, the Transport and Construction Ministry, and other partners, it's a no-brainer that you should give it a visit if you ever happen to be in Slovenia during the winter. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.